we can't fit everything into one day. Believe me, we've all tried. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. This one is specifically about organization. I had to read this to keep myself organized there as well. So this is all specifically for those that are in college, or you enter the adult world, you're fresh out of college, things like that. People that are having a little bit of trouble kind of getting about their day, staying organized, especially with the tons of different things that you have to do. Even high school, sometimes arguably, right? You have less responsibility back then, depending on your situation, but regardless of what age, what schooling, or demographic, or even just like place of work that you're at, everybody needs a little bit kind of just like structure around their day. I know everyone's different, so just really gone are the days of like remembering everything and doing things on the spot. I need to get a little bit better at remembering things, so I don't have to read these things on videos, but I promise I'm getting there. I've known a lot of people like this. I was like this up to a point in college. You just try to remember everything, your tasks, your to-do lists, events and calendar, classes, and just homework and all this stuff coming up. And too often do I'm sitting in a class or something, and I hear someone forgot like an assignment or something that was very clearly due, right? Like nowadays schools have their own like calendars and things like that they put up like online and stuff that you can access. You never forget due dates and stuff like that. I've always been someone that like I had my own calendar and I had all this stuff like kind of written down and figured out before they would even post the stuff to like their own calendar. So this way nothing would be a surprise, right? So this isn't just about like calendaring, but that's just like an example. Like you can't memorize everything no matter how hard you try, and also why would you want to? Ultimately life is really complicated. There's so many things that you got to keep track of, bills, all this stuff, and the more you just try to keep up here, the more that you're just potentially going to forget, and it's going to result in some serious problems one day. I promise that you're going to waste a lot of time and you will be consistently stressed. I do also, before I start, want to acknowledge that everyone's built a little bit different. I understand that not everyone's needs to be super structured and not everyone needs to be super flexible. So everyone's different, right? But no matter what some of the things that I'm going to describe are things that I do to really structure my day, and then not all of these things are going to work for everybody because of those personality and just like thinking, like mental differences, right? But you can really decide what works, what doesn't work. Just really pick and choose. This is just another resource to help with that time management, help with organization and getting stuff in order in life. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get right to it. First thing that I do is create a budget. This is something that I've had since like midway through college. And I use it for quite a few different things. I'll link the video on screen that I made. It's literally a how-to from scratch, not necessarily scratch, but I have a template in that video that you can follow if you don't already have a budget. Get some of that income and those expenses and everything written down, all your debt, all this stuff. Get it written down, otherwise life's going to get very hard. If you don't have any debt, you should still be writing some of this stuff down. I'm sure you have some expenses, even if there's just like a couple of them, if there's subscriptions and stuff. That you should be tracking like week by week. You don't want to be surprised by anything. You want to control your money. You don't want your money to control you. The other thing that I do is I use a personal calendar and email address. I don't just rely on work. I also use like a reminders app. So iPhone has like a reminders app. Back I know like Microsoft, they have like Microsoft To Do and all this stuff. It's really, really helpful for like appointments and stuff like that. But I once I knew a guy at work where he had, I think it was like pay rent on his calendar at work. It's kind of embarrassing. It's totally fine if you want to do it that way, but I'm sure that's not the only thing you need to remind yourself of. I'm sure there's tons of other things that come up, and some of them you don't want your job seeing, right? Or your coworkers seeing or stuff like that. So if you're gonna do that, privatize some of those events. It's usually like there's a private like option on some of those things. But highly recommend just keeping your own calendar, just Google Calendar, Outlook, stuff like that. Some of them you have to pay for. I know Google Calendar is free, so you have resources out there, or even just a good old-fashioned just book, like calendar book, reminders book, to-do lists, like all this stuff you can do online or offline. Really doesn't matter. There's so many different options, and there's really no excuse not to start using some of this stuff, especially if you move between jobs. Your career can take you in different directions. You're going to lose that work calendar. Now there are ways to kind of import some of that data and stuff like that, but in order to avoid the complexities and also the need to adapt to different calendars and different situations and things like that, it's just best to have your own. And then also a personal email address. I mean, everything nowadays is online, and I probably don't have to tell you guys this, but I've met quite a few people that don't have their own email, and it's like I try to send them something sometimes that's like pretty important. You can't send through text or like a messenger or social media or anything like that. And you just, some people just don't have email, and it's kind of, these are some people that are our age too, so it is kind of weird when you're actually trying to send like important information or anything that needs to be sent over email. You know, you need it for a lot of different things, like bank accounts and all this stuff. Generally people have it and they just don't know their like logins and stuff like that. You should be checking this stuff every single day. You should be like unsubscribing from all the spam. Treat it just like your real life mailbox. The next thing that I do that I think is incredibly important, and this might not work for everybody because I was just lucky to start it at such a young age, but when I graduated high school, I was like looking for something to do, and I created a logins document with all my essential logins, you know, things I use regularly. Like it was on in Microsoft Word, and ever since, every time I create a login on anything, you know, over the course of my Purdue career and through now, like I've wrote it on this document. This document is hundreds of pages long now, and all it takes is a simple Control F search, right? For literally any site or anything you need a reminder of what your login was. And then anytime you make changes or you're asked to change your password or any of this stuff, always just update the document. It becomes a force of habit. It's a force of habit for me. And it's just it's super handy. So if you have the time, start that. It's going to save you so much time, because we all know, like, our phones and browsers and all this stuff, they try to save information, but it's never as effective as they want it to be. Usually, even if you press the remember me button, sometimes you're asked to sign in again constantly, and it's just they don't do their job the way they're supposed to. So as long as you keep this document, you constantly update it, I promise it's going to pay off in the long run. There are days where I have to access like old statements or things like that from even like Purdue, and I have access to those old logins now because it's just like I save them, right? I don't go there anymore. I graduated, but like it's like I have this information, so it's like super helpful. When it comes to just like having your to-do list and then setting goals, you want to make sure you have like a priority order, right? This is in terms of micro goals and your daily to-do lists, like weekly stuff like that. Just have a priority order, because we all know there's only so much you can get done in a day. Believe me, we've all tried. It's like we still, even to this day, I still try to get more than I can done in a single day, and it does not work out well. So really just setting smart expectations, write it all down. Like, you'll know that you'll get it done, but just prioritize it. So maybe like first to last, or you can color code. It really doesn't matter how you do it. You gotta keep track of like what your biggest, most important tasks are that you have to get done, so you know you're always getting the right things done. You can leave some of the optional stuff for later, and always just, you know, just picking and choosing what is the best use of your time during a day, but then also being flexible. Like, don't schedule it out, because ultimately things are going to come up. You know, you may get an opportunity to do something you thought you wouldn't have time to do, like until like Thursday, for example, or something like that. So it's always important just to have a little bit of flexibility, and instead of being like super rigid, but then also just like prioritize as best you can in order to go about your day. On the same topic of like saving your logins, something I do is I also started, back then it was a Google Drive, and I eventually transferred everything to a OneDrive, and I'm lucky I did it like as early as I did, because right now it'd be impossible for me it'd be very difficult to transfer everything I have on OneDrive to something else. Like if I wanted to go back to Google Drive or something, I have like hundreds and hundreds of gigs of like information on there. This is like all the documents obviously I've stored in school, you know, essays, all this stuff, tax information, health records. I know not everybody's comfortable with putting this stuff online. That's fine. Start like a local folder and just back it up, or even just like keep this stuff. If you want to do it like physically, it's gonna pile up. It's unavoidable, but you can use some of those like plastic bins and stuff like that. There's tons of ways to organize both digital and physical health records, loan and debt like documents. So this way, like, you know, just once it gets to tax time, you have everything together. If you go to the doctor, you have everything together. It's helpful to have a lot of these important pieces of information in your life just all in one place. And I personally highly recommend a cloud drive. Usually like the starter package for OneDrive. It's not too expensive. It's an annual fee. But I mean, you get other things with it, like you get like Excel, Word, all Microsoft Office, which you probably want to use anyway. Or you can use Google Drive, which is free. You get less space, I'm pretty sure, but it's incredibly helpful just as a free starter. And once you accumulate more stuff in there and you need more space, you can buy it. You can transfer to something else, or you can do it locally. It really doesn't matter. I think it's incredibly important just to have everything in one place. It makes life easier in the same way that having all your logins together does. There's a couple more things. These are a little bit more, it really depends. You know, some of the other ones were a lot more on the important end, right? Like I personally store all my photos and videos and all this stuff, not like YouTube, but like personal stuff that I take, like when I'm out and all this stuff, on the cloud as well. So I have a photos and videos folder up there, so this way I don't have to keep everything on my iPhone, and I can free up space. And then when it comes time to buy an iPhone, I also don't have to pay for like tons of space, right, to keep all these photos and things that I've collected. I just pay for the entry-level model, which is generally enough if you don't keep your photos and videos on your device. So keeping all that in the cloud has helped tremendously, and I have like hundreds and hundreds of photos, honestly probably thousands by now, photos and videos that I've taken across the years, all stored on there, and I can access those memories whenever, so it's just super helpful. And OneDrive specifically does do live photos now, so it's not like you lose that functionality. The other thing that I do is a meal plan and shopping list. A lot of people, sometimes they just run out and get something when they want to cook, and these are generally the same people that probably don't cook too much or just cook like something really big, right, or like a large batch of something, and then just eat that for the whole week or a couple weeks, and then or eat out quite a bit. It is, you know, it is a lifestyle thing. It really depends. But if you're like myself and, you know, you do cook pretty consistently, and it is tough when you're like trying to cook something and you like forget that you don't have something, you're in the middle of cooking a recipe, you're in the middle of cooking a particular dish that needs something, and then you just have to either throw everything out or just like kind of run out and grab something. It's a time waste. It's a waste of food. There's a lot of issues with it. So just having a shopping list that you're constantly, like once a week, right? You go out, you get your stuff. You can do it, you know, every 2 weeks, every 3 weeks. It doesn't matter. But the point is you can get everything in one go, and you're less likely to forget something or not have something on hand. And along with this, planning out your meals is a huge help, right? Now, this really doesn't matter. This isn't just for like the super crazy calorie people and like the people that are really watching their weight like a lot, right? This is for everybody. Like it just means you're wasting less food, you're wasting less resources, and then you're able to, again, easily make a shopping list because now you know what you're going to have for dinner every single day. And then, you know, if you want to plan out breakfast, lunch, all this other stuff, you can. I mostly plan out my dinners. With all the other stuff, like I just kind of eat whatever, and it's like I'm very simple, so I like eat the same things all the time. But with dinner, you know, I tend to cook different things on different days, and then also account for like leftovers and stuff like that. This makes absolutely certain you're not buying too much, too little, and just like having the right things on hand. There's one thing that I think goes without saying, but I'll say it anyway: declutter your living space. You'll thank me later. And then finally, have a routine for the day and really just stick to it on off days. And I like to say, create this thing known as like rituals and associations, right? Really associating different habits and activities with different circumstances. For the longest time, I never used a dishwasher. It's just I used to wash everything by hand up until recently. I started using a dishwasher, and it's actually really cool. If you don't use it, highly recommend. But for me, it was such a new thing. I'm not used to it, stuff like that. So I would, you know, put a ton of dishes in the dishwasher. Anything I had that was dishwasher compatible, I'd put it in and do it all once a day, right? What would happen at first is I would forget that dishes are even in there. It's closed. And I'd wake up the next day and I'd be like, oh shit, yeah, I'm missing dishes. They're in the dishwasher. I never turned it on right before bed. Doing something as simple as like after dinner, just taking out the little dishwasher packs and just leaving it on the counter where I knew that I was going to fill up my water bottle right before bed. So this way I saw the dishwasher packs. I'm like, okay, I got to put one in the dishwasher, turn it on. I remembered to do that because I essentially created an association to something I already did as a habit prior to bedtime. So nowadays I don't have to do that, but like that's an example of what I mean by association. Really associating different activities that you're new to doing or things like that with habits that you're already doing, and creating a general routine for the day, I think is going to help tremendously with all the small like basic tasks that you do through the day. really like scheduling things out you can do, but I like to just like have like general routines that make life easier. And you're not constantly scrambling to remember that you have to do something or don't do something, or just generally forgetting certain things throughout the day. So that's everything I had in terms of how I organize my day. I'm sure there's some like small things out there that I'm forgetting, but these are the biggest things that I wrote down that I think are worth kind of looking at or starting if you don't already do. And you don't have to go super crazy. You know, once again, keep things as simple as possible. The whole point is just decluttering and like just really gaining some of that mental clarity, because you have less to think about. Everything's pretty much it's not automated, but it feels automated. Anyways, y'all, that's the video. Leave some comments. Let me know what you think. Let's smash that like button. Let's get this video trending higher than the amount of to-do items I have on my to-do list right now. It's way too many in order to get some of these videos out. And then please subscribe if even a fraction of my videos really resonate with you. And I'll see everybody in the next one. Peace out.